Now, some headhunter would probably say you're gonna be working about 2 to 4 hours per day and you get to relax and explore China. True work-life balance. But can we say the same as it is for a first-year teaching expat working in China? Welcome back to Solo Quest. Today, we're gonna talk about the true hours you're gonna be working day-to-day basis as a first-year teaching expat working in China. Now, welcome back, fellow adventurers. For new viewers out there, my name is Solo Quest, and I've been living and working in China for about 6 years so far. And as you can see here from my 2 bald spot in my head, these aren't stolen valor. These are all from the events that I've been through in China, which means I'm legit. Now, I usually make videos on how to survive in China, work-related, etc. like that. But from time to time, I like to make some niche travel video that others haven't yet fully covered. And if you're interested in those type of content, you can click on the 3 buttons below, like, comment, or subscribe, because these 3 are the only type of food that me and my boys consume on a daily basis to survive out here. And if you did click on any 3 buttons down below, comment, like, and subscribe, my boys and I will forever be truly grateful to you because we can live another day. And with that out of the way, let's continue on to the video. Now, the quick answer is yes, technically you're only going to be working 8 hours per day, but you're not really taking into consideration that you're going to be in a new place and a new work environment. Along with that, you're still going to be doing paperwork in China because it's still not finished because you are still on probation period. And talking about probation period, you're going to have lots of training and lots of catching up to do. Especially most people that work as an English teacher expat in China, they don't really have any teaching experience, so they really need to know the basics and how to get the lingo of it and lesson plans, etc. like that. But if you'd like to know more details on what your true hours like pre-work, after work, or during work, continue on to the video. Like I mentioned on my previous video, there are 2 types of hour. One is office hour, the other one is teaching hour. Now, as for office hour, technically this is the time where you're going to be grading paper and also preparing your lesson plan, PowerPoints, etc. like that, and sometimes have meeting. And as for teaching hour, you're technically going to have about 2 up to 4 hours per day, depending on how busy the school is, and the rest should be your office hour. Now, first, let's talk about pre-work. In my book, pre-work is anything that is considered work, before work, preparing for work, etc. just like that. And like I mentioned earlier, you are going to be in a new place, new work environment. You're not quite sure what the work life is like out here. And as it is globally known that a new employee should come half hour or at least 15 minutes early to work. So technically that 8 hour easily becomes 8 hour 30 minutes or 8 hour 15 minutes. And typically a company would often get hotels that are close to your workplace, but unfortunately for cheaper companies, they would give you a far away hotel that is a bit more cheaper. You're gonna have to commute about like half hour up to like 40 minutes into your first office space until you get your very first apartment where you can choose to live far away from your workplace or either 5 minutes away. Now, in addition to your preparation hour and also commute time, take into consideration in your very first 3 months in China for getting lost hours. Now, but what do I mean by getting lost hours? Again, you're going to be in a new place. You're not quite sure how the road works, how the public transportation are, and also the most important thing, you don't understand the language. Now, because of this, people get lost all the time, and yes, including me on my very first 3 months in China. Actually, this is the main reason why 10% of expats don't even last on the very first probation period, because they are late to work. And it's not really truly their fault because, again, we don't really understand the language, how things works out here. And, you know, things happen. 1 or 2 times being late is okay, but 3, 5 times, because I've seen a couple of expats here and there that are late for 4 consecutive days and their company wasn't happy at all and they let them go on the very first week. And yes, this could really jeopardize your probation period. Now, talking about late, I do have a story to tell you, and that is on my very first year in China. Now, at this time, I was working in Futian, Huashangbei, and this place is known to be hella confusing because there are many underground tunnels and overpasses. And at this time, I wanted to go to work and I was already a bit late at that time. Perhaps I didn't really take into consideration my preparation time, but I was just dashing all over the place. And I thought this specific underground road leads faster to my workplace, but you know what? I was wrong. And the thing is, I was actually half hour late at the very end because I was going through tunnels, exiting tunnels here and there, going up. And if you ever been to Huashangbei, you know that one tunnel that I'm talking about that leads to some other tunnel and leads to the electronic place. It is so confusing. And I think the Huaqiangbei Line 2 station have the longest tunnel to the subway getting outside to the exit area. And the second tunnel is you have to go through all the vendors, and that way it incentivizes people to buy the products from the vendor before exiting or getting into the subway. But yeah, the moral of it, try to give yourself another extra half hour every day in your very first 3 months working in China, so that way it won't jeopardize your work out here. Congratulations, you finally arrived at work, and this is where you get to start your chunk of 8-hour workday. Now, like I mentioned earlier, on your very first week, you get to chill for 1 to 2 hours and get to travel around China. This is like your welcoming week. But after that, on your second week, this is where your work starts to happen. You're gonna be observing teacher. You're gonna be working a lesson plan. You're gonna have your full 8-hour workday. You're gonna have your very first class being observed, being criticized. Oh man, this is gonna be the best week of your life. Now, when it comes to getting all these work done, you need a bit of fuel. Let's talk a bit more about lunch. And in addition to that, sleeping hours. Now, when it comes to lunch, it is part of your 8-hour workday because technically you are still at work. You're gonna be around the work vicinity. But in addition to that, you do have the sleep hours as well. In China, they do have a sleeping culture around 12 p.m. And at this time, you're gonna be sleeping in your office with all the lights closed. You're gonna be sleeping with all your coworkers. And no, not on the floor. You're just gonna be putting your hand down on the table, sleeping. And for training center, typically you're gonna be sleeping about half hour, lunch half hour, in total 1 hour. And this is still part of your 8-hour workday. And as for schools, it's gonna be 1 hour sleeping and 1 hour lunch, so 2 hours in total. Now with every hour's finished, let's move on to our very last hour, and those are the after hour. And there are 3 parts to this. The first one, the getting to know hours. Now, typically on your very first 3 months in China, I feel like a lot of Chinese people or a Chinese coworker or perhaps local expat as well, they would love to show you around what China is like, etc. like that. Although the gesture is nice, but for some people, I would say for the 10% of people like me, I think it's a bit stressful because I do have to maintain my personality, not show too much, and I still consider this as work. And yes, I do sound very ungrateful for people wanting to show me around China, but I think some people have their own pace to do so. And if you do reject their offer, I guess this is not considered a good thing because, like I mentioned in my previous video, your KPI will suffer and you will not be viewed as a sociable person. And this is kind of just like their vibe check. Yeah, the thing is, in my opinion, after hour, getting to know each other, hey, let's go to a bar, or hey, let's go to a restaurant with the whole company is still considered work hours to me. Now, the second part to this that I still consider work is the learning hours. Now, technically, for most expats that do work in China as an English teacher, don't really hold a teaching degree, but they do hold a teaching certificate. Now, when it comes to a teaching certificate, it doesn't mean that you are knowledgeable on how to become a teacher, but you're knowledgeable enough to teach English. Now, when it comes to becoming a teacher, there are 3 parts to this: the teaching, lesson plan, and also PowerPoint. Now, the one that most new teachers struggle with the most is the PowerPoints and also the lesson plan. The thing is, when it comes to these, and some companies are more tight comparison to other, which means their lesson plan has to be more detailed, more fancy shenanigans words out here, which can be really stressful for a lot of first-year teacher out there. And this actually is the great filter for a lot of expat teacher because they couldn't handle with all the lesson plan and also PowerPoint at the same time. And in some companies, even though you're teaching the same materials, but you're teaching different classes, they need a different lesson plan for each different individual classes, which is hella stressful for a lot of new teachers out here, and they still haven't yet get the hang of it. From my experience, I spend about half hour up to 2 hours per day working on my lesson plan and PowerPoint after work hour, because the thing is, I was just really trying to figure out on how to do it. That was just like for 3 months straight until my probation ends, and that way I could get to relax for a bit. But yeah, it was this most stressful time of my months. Now, I apologize if it all sounds so bleak, but let me put a bit of a cherry on the top to finish off everything, and that is the commute time. Now, earlier I didn't really talk about the commute time just because I think it'll be amazing to put it at the very end because I kind of want to rant about it a bit more. Now, commute time in the first tier city is amazing. Not gonna lie about that. The subway here is always on time, which means you're always on time to work as well. But if you are riding the e-bike or taking the taxi or perhaps riding the bus, God bless you. But when it comes to these like road traffic, dang, good luck during the rush hour because most of the time, these buses would move 1 inch every 5 minutes because people are jaywalking, people are cutting in line, things are gonna be chaotic for you. And if you're taking the bus taxi or perhaps Didi, which is the Uber of China, then you're really playing with your luck and you're gambling with your work life as well. I'm not sure what camp you're going to be in, but in my opinion, commute time is still part of work. So do take into consideration that, including with your work time as well. All right, in conclusion, yes, technically what the headhunters say is correct. For a lot of expat out there, they usually work about 2 to 8 hours per day and sometimes only 6 hours per day. But if you are a new teacher coming in China, working in China, then the whole situation is a bit different, because you do have to take into consideration before you go to work and after you go to work. Now, before work, including commute time, get yourself an extra half hour in case if you get lost, because in your very first 3 months, you're still getting used to things. If you're late a couple of times or maybe 3 times, then this really could jeopardize your work and jeopardize your probation period. And after work, on your very first month, you do have to get to know more of your employee, get into dinners with them, and keep your emotions in check, keep your personality in check, don't weird them out, and be sociable, or either your probation will suffer or either your KPI will suffer. This is just me talking based off my experience. And in addition to that, if you don't know how teaching work or you don't know what lesson plan is, you do have to learn how to make a lesson plan, make a powerful PowerPoint for students to be engaged in, and also try to prepare for your lessons and kind of have a mock practice inside your hotel or either inside your apartment on how to teach these classes, because you don't really want to make a fool of yourself because you are still in your probation period. Now, in addition to the whole work time, learning time, or perhaps dinner time with the whole company and work, you do have to take into consideration the rush hour time or the commute time, because during this time, if you are riding the bus or riding the car, then you're gonna be in there for quite a long time. That's about it with the whole true teaching hour as a first-year expat in China. And if you have any other question or either concerns, comment down below. I'll try to reply to you as soon as possible.